Hi, everyone. My name is Victoria Passarella, and welcome back to the Italian American Leadership Network podcast. I'm joined with our lovely intern, Christina.
Hi, everyone.
So happy to be here with her. Something that you might notice that's a little different, I'm very excited about, and Christina's very excited about too, is that we are in a studio.
Hey.
So we're leveling up, not only on Zoom, so that is very, very exciting for us. Engineering for us today is Rob Martin. For direct live streams. So if you're ever in New York and you want to do a podcast, reach out. We have a great person we can recommend. So we want to kind of introduce what the Italian American Leadership Network is, and then we're going to jump into our topic today, which is the Italian American language, which is a language in and of itself. So the Italian American Leadership Network, and you'll see this in the theme of all of our other podcasts, is about talking to Italian American professionals, students, about their journey, about how being Italian American has impacted their personal and professional lives. This topic is a little bit different than that because we're not really talking about professional development as much as we're talking about language. So how does that fit into the topic of professional development? One, it's a fun topic to talk about. So if you meet another person, you're networking, you want something to talk about, you want to provide them information, it's fun, very kind of intimate insider information. So that's great. But the bigger picture is that a lot of Italian Americans either feel not super comfortable or proud of their backgrounds because they feel like they're not, quote unquote, real Italian. Or that the language isn't right. People tell them you're saying things wrong. There's a lot of condescension that goes on in the community. So there's so many videos on YouTube talking about people saying, you're not real Italian, or you're saying this wrong. There's a New York Times article about this. So I really wanted to dispel a lot of this so that way we can feel confident in our identity. One of the things that holds people back in their professional lives, in the workplace, with networking, is not feeling confident with their identity. So if we start to reclaim our culture, our community, our language, it'll make us feel more confident going out there, networking, and supporting each other. We're very lucky to have Christina with us because not only is she our amazing intern, but she also is, you took a minor in translation studies.
Yes.
Italian translation studies. I do not. So she's going to say the harder words.
Sounds good.
But before we go into the fun of the words, a lot of these words, you might know, your family might know. So really excited. We went through this whole list. We narrowed it down. We might need to do part 2 and part 3 of this.
Of course. There's never enough time to talk.
There's so many words. But before we get into that, I just want to go into the history. Why are we even talking about this? And why are these words different? So why do some people say manicati and some people say manigat, for example? Often what will happen is that if you say it without the vowels at the end, without the standard way of saying it, people will say you're saying it wrong. So we're going to go into how did that even happen? So first we want to take a step back and acknowledge some history that not only most Americans don't know, but most Italian Americans don't know. So I'm going to go through like thousands of years of history and like really fast.
Go back in time.
So this is an abridged version. And if you want more information about this, one of my favorite topics, there'll be links in the description. Okay, so what we first want to think about is that we're not talking about an accent. That's not what this is. We're talking about different languages that developed in different parts of Italy. Italy was not a unified country until 1861. And even after 1861, it wasn't 100% together. There was still kind of rogue things going on. But you wanted to think of 1861. That's shocking to a lot of people that while the United States existed, Italy actually didn't
yet.
The peninsula did, like the landform did, but it's not like someone from the north thought, oh, I'm Italian, just like someone in Sicily.
Or individual, regions.
Right, individual regions. And you want to also think about the geography and with the history and how that could make cultures different. So you have the north, you have snow, you have the Alps. That's very, very different than someone who's Sicilian, let's say. They're living on the water, there's palm trees. Very, very different cultures.
They're all Italian, but it's such a difference. So.
Yes. And then in the middle, you have all these mountain regions going on. Yeah. And that's going to separate people culturally, their food, expectations, things like that. And a lot of people more now understand that Italy, particularly southern Italy, Sicily, was conquered by so many different cultures. So you have the Greek culture.
I'm also half Greek, but
Christina the Greek is with us. But I consistently like to say to Christina, the fact that you're Greek almost in a way makes you more Southern Italian in the sense that
it's always a mix.
Because Sicily in particular was conquered. I'm using the word conquered very loosely. By the Greeks. The civilization was there, Greek, Arabic, so much. So the fact that you're part of all those cultures is actually, you're like the personification of this topic right now.
Unified.
And what's the phrase that people say about Greeks and Italians?
Oh, una faccia, una razza. One face, one race. So I get that all the time. Everywhere I go, people are like, oh, you're Italian and Greek? Oh my God, like the best of both worlds. I just use that phrase. And And so much of the language is influenced, particularly in the South, particularly in Sicily, it's influenced by Greek, it's influenced by Arabic, where, let's say, more north, you'll have words that are more influenced by French. More south, you'll have words more influenced by Spanish. So the overall concept today is to give respect to the words that we say in the United States. So essentially, 1861 happens. I'm not going to say this very academically at all. Okay. The South gets screwed, basically, is what happens. It's not like, oh my God, like the North saved the South. That's not what happened. Essentially, the north of Italy took over the south of Italy. The north then becomes where all the resources are put, the commerce, things being modernized, education, all of that starts to get concentrated in the north. Not to say that the South didn't have that prior. The South has amazing history. But basically the North became another conqueror. So instead of it being the Normans, it being the Spanish, it being the French, it being the Arabs, now it becomes the North, essentially. So eventually the people of the South become extremely poor, many of them starving. They don't have access to resources, access to jobs, all of that. And shortly thereafter, you start to see a mass migration out of the south of Italy, to the point that now there's more Italians living outside of Italy than actually in Italy. That's unbelievable.
It's so shocking.
When you really try to wrap my head around it, it's so crazy.
Yeah, and that's known as the Italian Diaspora. So when we say Italian Diaspora, that's what we're talking about. It essentially means when ethnic peoples disperse into different places. So you'll have Italians in the U.S., particularly the Northeast Coast, Argentina, Brazil, Australia, Canada, many other places, that then evolve with their own Italian culture. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I'm getting everything that we're going into. Okay, so the word dialect is thrown around a lot.
dialect by some peoples, particularly now, as more and more people are reclaiming their Italian identity, their Italian American identity, sometimes feel that the word dialect is being used in a derogatory way, like a lesser language. So we encourage you to think about this topic in the context of a regional language, and then dialects are kind of spin-offs of the regional language. So how does it make sense with this? Naples has a regional language. Sicily has a regional language. These are different than regional languages in the north. But when Italy was unified, they have this peninsula first filled with tons of different languages. They basically decide to pick one language to be the official Italian language. So that's what we'll be referring to as standard Italian. Not right Italian, not real Italian, as people say, but standard Italian, because that just became the official language of the country. It's actually based on Florentine, has a lot to do with the fact that Dante was writing in that. But these other regional languages coexisted with the Florentine language. So it's not like what we're saying is a bastardized version of real Italian for many Italian Americans. It's that a lot of what we're saying is a spin-off of what our ancestors spoke when they came to the United States. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense.
Okay.
You're awesome.
There's a lot. It's complicated. It's very, very complicated.
You explained it very well, Victoria.
Very complicated.
Very well.
And just to give an example of this. So, for example, in standard Italian, for the word beautiful, you would say bella. Yeah. Right? A lot of us know that. Mm-hmm. Even English-speaking people, they know that. Sicilian, which has a lot of words that are super different, super. People in Italy don't even understand what a lot of Sicilians are saying. The translation is badu or bada. So not B-E-L-L-A. Yeah. The L's are now gone. And we're going with B. Am I sure I'm saying right? Yeah. B-D-D-U or A. So even the making it the male-female is different. So what's interesting for me is that I'm part Sicilian. I'm 100% Italian, but I'm part Sicilian.
Not, so.
But you're Greek, so you are kind of.
I know.
Because you're Greek, I just put you in every category.
She puts me in each category.
I'm like, you were there. Your people were there. You were there. You were there. I'm like, the Odyssey, it was around Sicily. You're good.
It's all the same.
But growing up, like my nickname, my entire family calls me Baduch. Like that's my nickname to this day. And everyone just knows that's who they're not saying my name.
Really?
They know, they're like, where's Baduch? Is Baduch here? Baduch said this. Like
I'm going to start calling you that now, so
Baduch.
You better answer to me.
Baduch. But it's a funny word, like a cutesy funny word that's coming from the Italian way. I mean the Sicilian way of saying beauty. So that's just a perfect example. You're going to do a better job than me of explaining this because you are our translator.
So on my mother's side, we're buddies. You know, we're not Sicilian, but
I'm buddies.
Yes. So growing up, I always heard this phrase in buddies, and I don't know, like there's obviously it's said differently in standard Italian, but I always just thought of it as Italian, and then I was like, oh wait, it's buddies, it's not standard Italian. So the English translation is, if we're gonna go, let's go. If we're not gonna go, we're not gonna go. So I'll say it in both ways. So first, in standard Italian, you say, se vuoi andare andiamo, se non vuoi andare non andiamo. But in Barese, we say, ce non mashu shamanen, ce non mashu non samashin. And it's the same exact meaning, but you can see the total difference.
That's so different.
You would never, sometimes my mom will, talk to me in Barese in the store, and I'll understand, obviously, what she's saying. But people who are Italian have no clue what she's saying if they're not Barese, because it's so different, so.
So different. And I can see the spelling of what she just said, and those are different words.
Yeah.
It's not like that's an accent. Yeah. Those are different words.
Yeah, it's so different, so. So there you go. So there's another example.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So thanks for Christina for being our expert.
Oh, stop.
More than me. And then you will
microphones.
see, like in different areas, just the emphasis of certain words, the pronunciation of certain words, even if it's a very similar word. So, for example, you could be in parts of Naples, and someone's first name, for example, could be Sabino, let's say, written out Sabino, but when someone greets them, they might say something like "Ciao, Sabine." So they're just kind of cutting off that end of it. So you see a lot of that with English, meaning in this country.
It's like they drop the last vowel at the end.
Yeah, with emphasizing that. So cut to, how does this now involve us? We are the descendants of these people that had these people who had very challenging lives. We have to respect that.
Of course.
Which is so rooted in the mission of this organization, and understanding that for the most part, all of us in the Italian diaspora are coming from challenging backgrounds. We're not, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. I have nothing to do with George Washington.
Oh, I know.
I mean, I have respect for him, but and I like being in this country, but that's not like, my people.
It's not our roots.
It's not our roots. So we have to support each other as we navigate this country.
Of course.
So essentially, Italy is now teaching the standard Italian. You have RAI TV, which is basically state television, using this. Television now takes hold, and there starts to become this adoption of this particular regional language that becomes a standard. Then, in places like the U.S., we'll use the U.S. as an example, particularly the New York metro area, because we're biased, and that's where we are right now.
Yes.
Particularly if you think of, I want you to visualize Little Italy in the peak of all this immigration going on. You have people coming from all different regions of the South that never met each other. You have people who are from the water next to someone who's never seen the water from a mountain completely, but now they're all thrown together in this neighborhood. They don't consider each other countrymen, essentially. But now they're all banding together because the U.S. culture does. The U.S. is like, oh, you Italians. But for a lot of these people, they didn't even consider themselves Italian. Like, what? Like, I'm Calabrese, I'm this, I'm that.
Exactly.
Like, what are you talking about?
They took pride of exactly, the region they came from.
Right. And even if you see in New York, there'll be certain blocks, even within the Little Italy, certain blocks had the Barese, certain blocks had the Sicilians, certain blocks had this, had that.
True.
And there's even a scene in The Godfather, and Godfather 2, where Vito Corleone is talking to the guy that was the landlord, and he says to him, "Are you Sicilian?" And the guy goes, "I think he's Calabrese." He goes, "No, I'm Calabrese." And Vito says, "We're basically," this is an English translation. He goes, "We're practically paisan." But it's a great example because it shows, it's this moment of seeing how this fusion started to happen. So then what will also start to happen in that scenario, language then starts to evolve. So before we get into the words, which we're very excited about, that you want to kind of start to think of the Italian American, these words that we're saying, as Italian American. So they're a fusion. They're the next step evolution of these words, and they can be called Pigeon. Pigeon's not an Italian thing whatsoever. It's a linguistic thing. Pigeon essentially means a language that is kind of like a spin-off of an original language. It's not meant to be an official language. It's not meant to even be like a written language. It's meant for people to communicate with each other. So it's very practical, particularly people across different cultures. So it's not like these words were meant to be on necessarily official documents, but if you are in the tenement buildings and you want to talk to your neighbor next door, you start to evolve, and then as the generations become friendly and go to school together, open up restaurants, and the culture starts to blend more and more, we start to get these words. So we want to give respect to these words. They're fun to say because a lot of them mean funny things, or it's nostalgic. You might think of, a memory that's a fun memory. But we want to give respect to these words, and if you say these words, not to feel like you are doing anything wrong.
No.
If anything, you're reclaiming your culture.
Exactly. I am super excited, Victoria.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So, and I know I use these words.
I use it every second of the day. Sometimes I don't even realize I'm saying it, and it comes out. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just said another slang. So.
And I feel like I say these words when there's not, naturally, subconsciously, when there's not an English word that means it. Or I just automatically go into it.
Yeah. I say it so much that sometimes in my dreams, I'm saying it, or someone else is saying it. That is, that's how you know when it's, that's how you in my dreams, or even like when I'm thinking, I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, here I go. I'm saying all these things.
Right, exactly.
So it's just it's inside of us already. So.
Okay, so we're going to take turns.
All right.
Saying the words, giving definitions, and please, in the comments, if these are words that you use, or maybe you pronounce them differently, or maybe you use a different definition for the same word, if there's words that we haven't included, put those in the comments, and we'll be able to do more things, and maybe we'll include something that you listed.
No, let us know. We're excited to see your feedback, and prepare to be laughing, for the rest of this, because it's going to be fun.
A lot of them are like insults.
Oh, no. In no way at all. No, not at all.
Okay.
All right, let's get started.
So the first word, and it's first for a reason, because I think it puts a lot of it I was just saying in context, is Meriga.
Meriga.
Okay, so how would you define it?
I don't know. To me, Meriga.
I'll define it too. But.
Yeah, I want to see the difference. I don't know. It's like sometimes my mom and I will be like walking in the store. It's like you can just kind of already, without even like hearing anything or even meeting someone, you already can pull out like who the Merigans are. And my mom and I will be walking down aisle 3, getting whatever. I don't know. And she's like, oh, look at this Merigan over here. I can't believe this. So I'm just like looking. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. It's just kind of like. To describe it, it's just, I don't know, it's a way for us to pinpoint, like, it's not Italian. It's just, like, our way of, like, we can see, like, the difference, in, like, the generation, so.
Yeah. So basically.
That's how I guess I would.
Yeah, so basically, you're essentially saying an American.
Yes.
And broadly, it often means someone who's, like a cowboy, for example, is a American. Like, that's not an Italian thing. So it's kind of like mainstream U.S. culture,
there it is,
mainstream U.S. person. It's not in and of itself necessarily a derogatory thing. It's more of like it's like, oh, that's a different type of person. And Italians, particularly Southern Italians, kind of having this like fascinating history of race, identity, which is a whole other conversation that's fascinating, but kind of like that standard white American culture is a Merigan. And then sometimes what will also happen is that if someone is of Italian American descent, but they're kind of like not owning it anymore. Yeah. So technically, genetically, they might be Italian, but they're not really owning it anymore. Yeah. They could also be called an American.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, we're born in America and we're calling them Merigan. But it's like, like, I was born in America, but I guess it's just like, it's like, I feel like, I was brought up not like the mainstream, like you were saying, Americans. So, it's just interesting because we are born in America, but it's just,
I'll use this as an example. If you, I don't care what ethnicity you are, you could be of Italian descent, but if you prefer like sauce from a jar, I think you officially have become an American. Like, I think that's it, right?
That's like
your Italian card gets taken away, and then you become.
That's the line. That's how you know. So
yeah.
All right.
We could probably think of a lot of examples like that. All right. So the next one. Calabrese, Bades, Napolitan. Yeah. So what's that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like you were saying earlier about how people like, oh, you're Sicilian, like where you're from. It's kind of like separating like the regions. Like even we do it in America. It's like, oh, like I might have a friend. Oh yeah, she's a Sicilian. We're the Bades, you're the Calabrese, you're the strong. Like that. We just kind of separate ourselves. Even though we're all Italians, like we make ourselves distinct. Like we separate even where our regions are from. Because even like our traditions, what we eat can be different too, depending on that. So
yeah,
that's how I see it.
Absolutely. Okay, this is one of my favorites. Chooch.
Chooch. You big chooch.
How would you use chooch in a sentence?
Me? Oh my God. So my brother will be downstairs playing his video games, and like my mom, we have dinner ready. She had the broccoli rabe on the store. I'm setting the table, and of course he's always downstairs. So I get upstairs, you big chooch, come on, let's go. He's just like taking forever to get up. So,
It's kind of someone who, it's often used of someone who's kind of immature in a way. Yeah. Like, let's say like a big person that's kind of like being lazy, not doing what they're supposed to be doing, maybe should have outgrown something that they haven't outgrown yet. So it's like, oh, this person's still doing that. Oh, that's shooch. Like, it's not, if it's a guy, girl, it doesn't matter. But let's say they're still like really, they're still like dependent on, let's say, like their mom for doing something for them or something. It's like, oh, that's shooch. Like, it's like almost like a lack of maturity in a way. It literally means jackass, though. Like, that's like actually what, like, it's more of like the literal translation, but that's how you would use it. But it's a word you can use a lot.
You use it so many different
You can use it in a lot of contexts. Okay.
The next one.
Okay, the next one is gagoots.
Gagoots.
So this one, I'll just kind of say some of them faster than others, has a bunch of like different literal meanings, but it's often used to like refer to someone specifically, like in a silly way. Often like your child or like a boy, it's like, oh, where's gagoots? Like, it's kind of like a negative but like silly thing. Not to mention another mafia reference, but in the last episode of The Sopranos, the very famous last scene, when they're waiting for AJ, the son, at the diner, they're like waiting around. Oh, AJ's a perfect example of a chooch. By the way, his name should have been Chooch. Like, he's the Go watch The Sopranos if you want to know what a chooch is. It's AJ. But when they're waiting for him, Tony's like, where? And instead of saying, where's AJ, he goes, where's Gagoots? So that's an example of how you would use that. Okay. Gavon.
Oh, it's my favorite.
I love Gavon. Okay. So far, we've been insulting.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of these, they're like interchangeable also, but you're right. They're always like a, this thing. Yeah, Gavon, you eat, we're Italian, you eat too much. It's like you have all this food at the table. This one's a Gavon, that one's a Gavon. Just keep managing, How else would you?
It's basically, it goes beyond food though.
Yeah.
It's like a class thing. It basically means like not classy. That's like, like, oh, like that person's a galvon. Like it's almost like a lower level. It's like an Italian knocking another Italian.
Inferior.
Yes.
Like below you. Okay.
Yeah. Like you wouldn't necessarily call like an Irish person a gavon. It's to another Italian person saying like you don't have class or something like that. So that could be with the food,
right.
But then it can get translated. Like if someone's having like a really gaudy, like a really gaudy house or a really gaudy event or something, you might be like, oh, this is a gavon. Like gaudy galvon. There's a lot there. Okay. People also say kavon too. Sometimes they pronounce the G, the C. There's a lot of these words that you could do with a G and a C. There's a whole history to that. That might be another thing. Okay. Some of these have like really fast translations. Yeah. Miserable. Miserable basically means like you're a miserable person. So this is the person that's like, oh, like I'm like complaining or
it's
like
always one of the bunch.
Right. Or like this person that you never met, like somebody died. It's like, why are you telling me this? Like I don't need to know this. They're just
everything's about death.
Yeah, it's just like, oh my God, so and so like this terrible thing happened. Someone that you've never met before, they're just like a negative person.
Knowing.
So that's a miserable.
Miserable.
Okay. Mushad. I say this a lot. My mother says this a lot. It basically means mushy. That's really what it means.
Like the literal definition.
Yeah, but you can use it for different things. Yeah. Like let's say you left something outside in the rain. And you could be like, oh, I left out in the rain. Now it's all mushad.
Yeah, it's all like messed up.
All
like
messed up.
Yeah, it's
messed up. Yeah.
I also use it like I'll say like she's a mujat. Like she's more like lazy, but kind of just like fragile, like quiet. I don't know. Like sometimes I use it like that too.
Well, if you think of it, it's not strong. It's
like mushy. Yeah, she's a mujat. Like she's just like, I use it like that too.
Yeah. Okay. Ubats.
Ubats.
How would you
Yeah, this
describe
is kind of like a crazy person. Like you're saying upazzo, you know, you're just talking about someone who's just a little messed up, you know, up here.
And then, we're gonna let you go into yours. Stugats.
Stugats.
So Stugats, I'll say it so that you don't have to say it. But Stugats, when you use it, it means like F it, basically, like Stugats. But it literally means it's male genitalia. Similar to how in English we use words like that not in a way that literally means that. But that's actually the literal translation. And I really don't mean to bring up The Sopranos again, but the name of Tony Soprano's boat is Stugats. So he'll say stuff like, "Oh, I'm going on the Stugats." He's not referring to that word means boat, but that's what he named his boat that. But it's more to be like, F it, Stugats, like whatever. Okay, now we're gonna go into your words.
Can I just say something? Is it bad that as a fourth grader, me and my friends actually had this list already? Is that, no, I'm not even kidding, because, you know, I grew up in my town and, you know, everyone was all Italian, went to school with, so we already knew all these words. Fourth grade, I had a whole list of these.
Right.
Could have done the podcast as for 9-year-olds. Is that crazy?
We should have lessons for children. We should do that.
Yeah, we should. Can you imagine?
Italian
our own
American
school,
words.
American slang.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so moving along, I'll start with. So this one everybody has to know. If you don't know this, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Paisan. Everyone knows this one. You know, every time I walk in somewhere, my buddy, she's also Italian. Well, hey, Paisan, how are you? How's it going? You know.
I want more people to use this
I love
word.
this word.
Like I want more people to use it.
Yeah. It's almost like the Italian way of saying, "Hey, yo," like hello, like you know.
It literally means like my countrymen.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's like that's how you're addressing. You know.
Yeah. And like it's not, the translation isn't friend. It's like my people, like my homie, basically.
My homie.
That's what it means. I love it. And so you could say like paisani if like it's more than one person, or he's my paisan. You're my paisan.
Yeah, we're paisan. Victoria.
We also went to the same high school too, so you're definitely
so we
my
really
paisan.
are paisans through and through. Okay. The next one, disgraziata. This is, oh my gosh, I love this word so much. I don't know why I always hear, for some reason, I could be wrong, but I always hear a lot of like Italian women saying this to like their kids. You know, you're kind of like you're a disgrace. That's kind of what you're saying. You know, like. And it's always like a slap in the head on the face or something. How have you ever experienced that?
I think it would be like, let's say you are a mess, or like you do something that's like
Stupid,
like disrespectful to someone, or like let's say like you dress the wrong way to an event, or your house, or let's say your house is a mess. That's when you would use it.
Exactly.
It's like you're doing something that's wrong. But a lot of it's like an appearance thing.
Oh, of course.
Or you did an action that's like...
Yeah. Right. It's always fare bella figura. If you don't have that, it's your disgraziata. That's always how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right.
High standard.
High standard. Oh, okay. This one is like, I feel like my favorite. I love this word. Mannaggia. This is my favorite word of all time. How would you, if you were going to say this to someone, like, why, like, what would be the context?
My father says this word so much.
Mannaggia.
By himself in the other room. Like I don't even know.
Totally alone.
He's mad at something. Like I'm just like I don't know what it is. He's by himself, but something's pissing him off right now.
Mannaggia la miseria. That's what we say.
It's basically like damn.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
It has like that same.
You might not be saying it to anyone. It's just like to yourself. Like I might drop something or like something, and it's like it just comes out of my mouth. But I might not be saying it to someone. It's just I'm just to myself. Like in the moment, I'm like, oh. Mannaggia, you know.
Yeah. I love it.
All right.
We didn't do this one.
Oh, I skipped this. See, now I'm over here. Facce brut. This is, means ugly face. I love this one.
I shouldn't love this one, but I feel like this is one. I mean, I know for me and for other people, like
because your nickname is. What'd you say?
Badoosh. It's the other
it's
side.
the opposite sense.
It's the other end. Yeah, exactly. That's what it means. And I feel like a lot of, at least for me and people I know, like our grandparents said it a lot. It's like an insult for someone. But basically, if someone's ugly, They'll say that. But it's not like the adults around are being nice.
Yeah.
Like your grandparent will be like, ugh. Like not to you, but to somebody else. Like, did you see who so-and-so's marrying? And then they'll say that.
But what I love about, like, you know, us is that, like, there's always honest. Like, we don't sugarcoat anything. Like, you just say it. Like, there's no la, la, la. No, it's like you be honest. You say it how it is, you know. Sometimes it could, you know, faccia brutta, but you say it how it is. So, you know. It's funny to us, but, you know.
I love it. I love it.
All right. Let me see what's next over here. Oh, maron. So this is like, I feel like this comes when you say like Madonna, like it's like maron, like you say like damn it, like it's kind of like managgia, like you're just like saying it in the moment. You can even just be alone and something happens, you're like, oh, maron, like, you know, to me it's like, oh, frick.
And I feel like sometimes you can also use it in a positive way, like to emphasize something, like
oh, like maron.
like, oh, this is a lot of food, like, and you can just say it to emphasize. It's like a way to emphasize something.
Yes.
In a way.
You're right.
This one.
Oh, okay. So it was so funny because I actually texted Victoria this last week because we were going over the list, and then we were saying how like sometimes we don't even realize that we're saying these words in sentence. That night I get home and I used it to my brother, and then I text Victoria. I go, I just used the word. So the word is scooch, like scooch, and I use this all the time, like mostly with I always bring up my brothers. It's just, you know, in the house. I just comes out. I'm like, this freaking scooch over here. Like, you know, it's just like you're a pest. Like that's just kind of how you would use it.
It means that, and you also can mean it to like move over.
Yeah, like
scooch over. But it kind of means the same thing. Like you're like.
So that's not really an English word, like scooch.
Oh, so that's what I wanted to say. So we met to prepare the words because there's so many words. We had to like narrow them down, whatever. Yeah. And we're going through the list, and I had like a pre-prepared list, and we were adding on to it. And you saw it, and you were like, "Wait, that's not English."
I thought that was English.
She legit thought that was a real.
Yeah, but for real, even like scooch, doesn't that really
scooch over?
That doesn't mean, is that English? Like
not.
Wow. See what I mean? Like these words, I really thought that meant.
I don't think Benjamin Franklin was saying scooch.
Yeah, I don't think he was. I don't think he was.
I could be wrong. I don't think.
I don't know.
Okay,
all
and
right.
this one.
And everyone definitely knows this. Whatever age you are, this is definitely in your vocabulary. Stunad. This is definitely, everyone knows this one. Again, it's like, you know, you're calling someone like a moron, like a stupid, you know, like this stunad over here, crossing the street, look down the phone, you're gonna trip over something. It's just a word that we use. I use it for so many different things in many different contexts. Wherever I am, I'll even be at school and I call people my age this word. They look at me and I'm like, yeah. You're a stunad.
Yeah, it kind of means like, also kind of means like out of it. Like you can call yourself stunad, like, oh, I'm so stunad. Like you did it today.
I do.
You couldnly find something and then you found it and you're like, oh, I'm stunad. Like,
yes, I use it on myself all the time.
Yeah. Like it doesn't mean that you're like fully necessarily a stupid person. You could be, but it's like you could do something that's like, oh, this, you're being a stunad or I'm stunad. It's like out of it.
Yeah, I call myself a stunad all the time.
Okay, now we're going to go back.
All right.
To my words. All right. Okay. So, stripiad. Stripiad. It's not the same as mooshad.
It rhymes though. Put in a poem together.
I should write poetry in this.
My gosh. That's wow.
Roses are red, like, violets are blue. You're mooshad.
And stripiad too.
Stripiad kind of means like messed up. So let's say you messed up your leg. Let's say you twisted your ankle or something like that, and now like you're walking with a limp. You would be like, oh, I'm all strippy-eyed. Like it's like I'm something's messed up, but it's often used for like yourself or somebody else. It's not like this table is strippy-eyed. It's like you're strippy-eyed. You could refer to like a body part as like, oh, my arm is strippy-eyed, whatever. You can go to the chiropractor and be like, fix me, I'm strippy-eyed.
I love what we're like humifying like even body parts.
Shangad. Another word, I would almost kind of put in the same family as strippy-eyed and mooshad.
I was going to say.
But it means like messed up. But this is different. This is almost like you would use this more for an object. You can use it for like a person or a body part. But shangad basically means messed up. So if, let's say you go to a garage sale. I'm making all these up right
We're just coming up with these stories on the fly. Like,
let's say you go to a garage sale and someone's like, oh, they're having a garage sale down the street. And then someone's like, why would I want that? Their stuff is all shangad. Like, it's messed up. Like, it's not new. Like, why would you want that? Jadrul the drool is something like, it's kind of similar to a chooch.
Yeah, I would say so.
It's kind of like a lazy person. Like, oh, he's such a drool. Like, it's just
the
like,
eye roll, exactly. That's exactly.
it's like I keep making it a him, but it could be anyone. It's kind of just like a lazy kind of.
Lazy, yeah. No, you're right.
Not
just
not like an ambitious person. It's like, oh, it's such a drool.
the chichu.
This one, I informed you about this one. My mom uses this one. Pitzen. So Pitzen is a derogatory thing that an Italian would call another Italian to say that they're like low class, but it's different than Galvon. Galvon could be gaudy. Galvon, they can have a lot of money, but they could be showing it off in a way that's like Galvon. Where Pitzen is like, it's not even necessarily trying to be mean, but it's more of like peasant.
Yeah.
It's more of like the peasant class. So, for example, you might have someone who...
It sounds like it.
It
sounds like
it. It sounds like peasant. Like, you might have someone who, like, let's say their family came to this country, like, the generation prior, and, like, they're more established, and then someone who's more off the boat, and, like, you know, they're still, like, really poor or whatever. Someone might kind of say, like, oh, they're peasant. And... Okay, so this one... This kind of goes with Scutch and whatever. So when I was in the first grade, that's when my family moved from Brooklyn to Nassau County, Long Island, but to a very Italian-American neighborhood, but not 100%, and not Brooklyn. I had a first grade teacher. I just got here. And she was very all-American, like blonde, blonde.
Yeah.
100%.
See?
Perfect.
This is the true Meriga.
Yes.
I'm laughing because I feel like I remember hearing this story.
Perfect. She had like a purse with like geese on it for some reason. It was kind of like, what?
Geese? All right.
So, I wanted to go to the nurse's office, and I had like, I'm really sensitive to salt, and like so are people in my family, and you get like a kind of like a sore.
So your teeth were shangad then?
Well, that would be shangad, but it's not the teeth; it's like the skin on the side. It gets
I don't like that
sore.
happens, yeah.
And my grandma used to always call that a scanja mend. It was like you could kind of see it, then it heals. It's like a scanja mend. It's like whatever. It was like if you have something like acidic or something like that. So I had that, but me being like the dyslexic person that I am. Didn't go to the teacher. I meant to say, can I go to the nurse? I have a scanja mend. Which in and of itself would have been absurd because she would have no idea what I'm talking about. But instead I said to her, I got confused for some reason. I guess I was maybe like scared to talk to her. I don't know. And I said, can I go to the nurse? I have a scanja mend you got. Which means, can I go to the nurse? I have a pain in the penis. But she didn't know.
Thank God
she had no idea what I was talking about.
Thank God.
She was just like, I was just like pointing to my mouth, like, I have to go to the nurse.
How old are you in first grade? Like 6, 7?
Yeah. I was like, yeah.
Little Victoria.
Yeah. I was like, and eventually she just let me go because she had no idea what I was talking about. And then I think maybe I was like, oh, I was saying it wrong. That's why she didn't know. As if I said scanja mend, she would have.
She wouldn't know either way.
And then it was one of those transformative experiences where I was like, oh, I'm the other in this situation. Like there's a default and I'm not the default.
I totally get it.
So
you already had that realization so young, see?
Yeah. But it's still, I mean, I still go through those experiences now where I'm like,
of course.
You've never had Italian ice before?
Oh.
I can't with that. Okay. Basta. How would you describe basta?
So to me, this means like enough. Like that's it. And I actually have a funny story. So like one time, my mom, you know, she made like big ziti or whatever, and I started eating it, and my mom's like, basta. I was like, wait, pasta? Okay, I'll eat more.
Pasta.
So yeah, I don't know. To me, it's like enough. Like stop. You know, like basta. That's it.
And sometimes people don't pronounce the A so much, and they'll just say like bast.
Yeah,
they'll say
again,
that
they drop
too.
the value. Yeah, basta. That's true.
But yeah, you can use it, like if you're fighting with someone too, you can say
like basta,
that.
Like, stop, like stop.
Yeah.
You're right.
You can use it. It's very versatile.
Yeah, you can. It's not like it's like the one way is every. It's like we change it up.
And then this one I already.
Yeah, we went over this one. All right, see.
Okay, we're getting there.
All right. Okay. So this one, I think this is buddies. We say like if you're trying, let's say like you're trying to address someone. It's like you see someone, hey, wow, yo, like it's like, hey, man, like like. And then I think in and then in buddies, if you see like a female, say, hey, Juanis, like it's just kind of like the way you address someone that you see. It's almost like saying paisan. It's kind of like some similar to that. So
yeah, I mean, it's more of a literal translation of like young man or something, but it doesn't have to be that. My father says this so much. Yeah. It just is like he'll walk into the house and say it. Yeah. And it's like it's just like okay.
Like, hey, like I'm here.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It's like
an entrance, Yeah. It's like who's coming in. Hey, well, yo.
Or like if you're addressed, it could be to an individual, it could be to like a group of people, but it's almost like this like gregarious kind of greeting.
Like a big personality coming in.
Yeah. So or like if you almost wanted to Americanize it in a sentence, you could be like oh, these wiles over here. Like you can use it in that way. So okay. This one I find to be fascinating.
Okay, yeah, this one. I'm like cursing over here.
But it isn't or isn't. Like it actually isn't.
Yeah, no, you're right. So this one's
like in English it's not a curse.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's not. So I use this a lot too. It's you say afanabola, vafanapoli, like this one. It's kind of like go to hell, It's like you use it more like when you give like a sting, like a dig to someone. Yeah. So
in a way, it kind of means like go F yourself, but it like means go to hell. But the thing that's fascinating to me is that the literal translation is go to Naples. Like that's the part where I'm like, that says a lot about how people view Naples.
Oh, I know.
Like if someone said like go to Brooklyn or something as an insult, like that says a lot. So I would love to know if people know like the history of that or whatever.
Yes, please tell us because I'm interested to know this.
And also, if you're from Naples, do you use this?
I was just thinking that. I was gonna say like, do you use it? Like, are you kind of insulting like your own people? I don't know.
Also, you're already there, so where are they going?
I don't know.
Like I'm just very confused of how this became a thing because Italian Americans definitely use.
We gotta do our research.
And a lot of people you can do afa or va or like there's different ways that like people say it.
Okay. So the next one, I use this one like all the time, especially after like a big meal. Oh my God, I have agita. Oh my God. And I've been using this since I was little, and I thought that was English. Like, I literally thought it was like a medical term.
You could have went to the school nurse. I have agita. I have to go home.
I use this. I had like what was it? You go every year for your physical to the doctor.
No way.
I use this to the lady, and I literally, my mom, okay, so I was maybe like 13, 14, so my mom always came in the room with me. So I'm sitting there, and the lady's like, okay, she's checking all height, weight, all that stuff. And she's like, oh, like, how's everything going? Like, is there any questions? Like, how's everything? Your health, basically. I'm like, sometimes I just get really bad agita, like, especially after I eat. And she's like, and my mom's looking at me, like, hysterically laughing. And the lady's looking at me, and she's like, what did you say you feel? I said, I always have like agita. It's like, I don't know. I have to take like a brioski. Like I have to. And the lady's looking at me and she's like, I don't understand what you're talking about. I was like, agita. And she's like, I'm like, stomach pain. She's like, you have stomach pain? And I was like, my mom was like, she doesn't understand.
It's one of those transformative moments where you're like, oh.
I was like, oh, you don't know this. But yeah, it's like, you know the feeling when you have it. It's just that it's kind of like heartburn. It's like, if you have, depending on stuff. So, I take a brioski and I feel better. Or it's even like someone's giving you agita. An emotion.
That's what I was going to say.
Yes, it's an emotion.
So it's more of like the literal is, because it comes from the acid, like meaning acid. Yeah. So that's more of like the literal way of using it. Yeah. But it has evolved into meaning like you are giving me agita.
Like the emotion behind it.
And someone else, you don't give yourself agita. You give me agita. Like, let's say you.
I'm sorry, do it.
No. You give me the opposite of agita. I don't know what that is, but if you know what that word is, let me know.
Please.
But like, let's say you're working on a group project. Yeah. These are ways that you can use it in everyday.
Yeah, this is now. See, we're teaching ways you can use agita.
Let's say you
in your daily routine.
Yeah, let's say you working on it, whether in school or work, you're working on a group project, and then one of the members of the group like isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing, and it's like stressful, and like the due date's coming and all that stuff, and this person could be giving you agita. Yeah. So someone's action is like causing. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's like it reminds me of that, the movie Inside Out. They have all the different emotions: fear, happy. We can add in the Italian American version. We can add in agita. What would that figure look like? Like, it would just be like
I don't know.
You got fear, sadness, happy, anger, and agita. Well, I just added into the movie.
I think we need like an entire movie though. Like I think
it's just agita.
Like different Italian emotions.
Did they put in the movie Luca? Because I haven't stopped and watched the movie yet. Oh my god. I gotta watch it this week.
I cried at the end, which is not like me at all.
Oh, I know. I want to watch it. I haven't watched it yet.
I legitimately, I was like by myself. Like, oh my god. I was like texting you and Julia. Like, you have to see this movie. Oh my god.
So they didn't put agita in it? They didn't add that in? But
no, I mean they have
emotion.
certain things. They do have certain things. But not that. Yeah. But I think we need an entire movie of just Italian emotions. What are the emotions? Agita, vendetta, like whatever. We need our own Pixar emotion.
Our own Pixar stars. Oh my gosh.
Hungry.
All
these are big feelings.
Irritated, pissed off.
I'm gonna kill you. Can Pixar
like I said, everything goes to death. Like I don't know why.
Right.
This is how it is.
To death.
Yes.
We got a priority straight. So. Okay, this one.
Moving along, we got statazit. This comes from like stai zitto, like, you know, it's like be quiet, like shut your mouth, you know. Like I even use this sometimes, like if I'm with someone, let's say like they're gonna start talking about something and I don't want the other person here. I'm like statazit.
I was just about to
like almost, it kind of looks like shut up, right? Like you kind of like saying like I use this a lot, especially like I'd say with my mom and like I don't know, like we're somewhere and like she's gonna start saying something. I'm like I don't want them to know. I'm like statazit, and she's like okay, you know, so you understand.
That's what's interesting about it is that it doesn't literally mean that, but that's when you use it. Yes. You use it when someone's going to say something that they're not supposed to say.
You're like, shh,
yeah, like when I was a little kid, that's when like this was first used with me because this is when we all lived in Brooklyn and everyone lived like around the corner from each other. So I was around my family a lot, everybody, and people would like talk about each other. You're a little kid, so you don't really understand that. So someone would say something, and then like let's say a few days later, someone would talk. I'm like, but didn't you say? And you were gonna like basically like expose them or like say whatever, and be like, and then like I knew that's what that meant. It was like shut your mouth, like don't. That's kind of what it means. It's like don't fucking say anything, shut your mouth. Like, that's what it means.
Your facial expression is exactly like the face you make.
Yes, you don't.
Your mouth.
It's like because you don't say it loudly.
Yes, yeah.
You say it like that.
It's like I feel like it's like you know, what are those people, the ventriloquists, when they're doing like I feel like it's like kind of like it's like you don't even say it
because you don't want anyone to know you're saying it except for the direct person that you're talking to.
Yes, exactly.
It's almost like if you like kick someone under the chair. Like,
yes,
it's like that's what it is.
You didn't even move your lips when you said that.
But it's also there's an emotion behind it of if you do, I'll kill you. It's
again.
Like, only like you're 4.
Yeah.
And your parent is telling you this.
I know. Oh, do you know how
you're just like you don't know what you did. You're just like okay, you just get it.
I can't. Yeah. It's true though. So.
And then last but not least.
This is the last but not least.
You can do more.
You want me to say this one?
Oh, you say it and I'll define it so that way.
All right, there we go. No. So it's like vaffanculo. Vai a fare in culo.
She's just better at speaking it. I'll define it. You're better at speaking it. It basically means F you. I mean,
you said that like it was plain as day.
That's what it means. Yeah. But I think this is another word people should be using.
Using more? Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. So we got paisana, gotta use more.
Yeah.
We gotta use vaffanculo.
I mean, I think we should use all of these, but and this one's similar too in that some people say with a va, some with a ba.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we gotta make index cards. You know, you study in school, you make index cards, flashcards. We gotta use these as flashcards. So you practice, you read the definition, and then you use it in your real life.
A glossary. Yes. A glossary. We have some more, but I just want to make sure how we're doing on time.
Robert, perfect. All right.
Perfect.
See?
This is why we need him. It's perfect. I need him in my everyday life to be like, I'm not shut up now.
Robert.
It's like,
how many minutes I got? Are we almost there yet? Yeah, 5 minutes.
When we did this, me and you on Zoom, it was 3 hours.
Oh my God. No, and then after we're done, we kept talking for another.
Right.
So my mom was banging from upstairs. Like, I got food ready. And I'm just like, Victoria, I gotta go. All right, 5 more minutes. And then we're still talking.
Yeah, we just took Zoom off and then just kept talking.
Yeah, we just
on
kept
Zoom.
talking behind the scenes. Yeah, this is.
And we also talked before.
Yeah, we did. It was like a 5-hour.
We talked
long
before,
thing.
during, and after. There's
Yes.
just, see,
We'll do the same thing here today also.
This
so
is why we
nothing new.
This is why you need a Rob in your life.
So should we say a couple fan faves that we think to wrap up? What do you think?
Let me
Victoria?
see. I think what we're gonna do. We have a bunch, and I'm sure we can come up with more. I'm sure you can come up with more. So feel free to reach out to us, whether it's in the comments, on our Instagram, with words that that we said today that you use, that you would like to add to this. If you know about the history of certain words, please let us know. This episode could have been hours and hours and hours, because there's so much history.
For sure.
Besides the words themselves, there's so much history behind those words with the different civilizations, all of that. Like I said, we'll put links in the description if you want to learn more. But the overall takeaway is just to, have fun with these words, but don't feel like you can't use them.
Yeah, use them.
Yeah. Don't feel like you're being. People kind of look. Sometimes people look down upon it or something, but just don't view it that way. View it as I'm speaking the language of my people, my ancestors, not ancestors necessarily 1,000 years ago, like recent. They left a country that evolved. They evolved into speaking a different language, but you're speaking the language that they spoke, and that's why they came to this country. So that's why we emphasize in the Italian American Leadership Network, Italian American. Love Italy and all of that. My father is an immigrant from Italy, but we really are focused on the Italian American culture. And what's really fun about this within the networking context is that, like in this example, Christina is my intern, but we can use these words, and it's fun, and you have more of a bond with it. So the more that we can kind of create that sense of being comfortable within ourselves, I think that more people will be more open to embrace their identity, feel empowered by it, not like they have to hide it, but be empowered by it,
100%.
and support each other.
Of course.
Yeah.
So this was fun. Thank you. You did a great job explaining the history.
Oh, thank
I learned
you.
a lot from you.
I have so much to say about all this stuff. But definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel, to the podcast is available everywhere you get your podcasts, on our Instagram. You can also follow me on Instagram at I am Victoria Passarella. We have so many different resources for you. We have career development panels on all different industries. We have resources for college students if you want to start your own campus or high school organization. We have panels of professionals, Italian American professionals of different industries giving you advice. We have so many different resources. We do career counseling, resumes, cover letters, networking, interviewing. We have so many different resources for all different types of people. And if you want to become an official member, for $5 a month or $50 for the year, you get access to a bunch of extra resources, in particular, our monthly discussion meetings. So if you want to talk more about different things about Italian American sociology, history, present, how the past impacts you now, your personal and professional life, join, and you'll meet a bunch of other really smart, fun, warm Italian Americans that want to network with you and be part of your community.
Awesome.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Victoria.
Okay,
This is awesome.
We're gonna go, and we will see you soon. If you want more words, let us know, and we can do other episodes about this. Okay?
Totally. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Ciao.
Bye.